Hold on. Where's my camera? There's my camera. Yay! Okay. Can everybody hear me? I'm here. Yay! Do a little song and dance. Here we are. You have the fedora. It isn't. It's not a fedora. Hey, everybody. How are we? Okay, so before we get too far into it, I wanted to say thanks for the gift of the new camera. So hopefully everybody's getting a bit clearer picture than what we had before. And thanks to Paolo for the advice for the lighting. So it's not quite so bad. It's still a little, there we go. How about that? It's not quite so washed out. And here we go. Yay. All right. So today we're going to be making some steak and some roast veg. And so let's get into it. Let me get my pinafore here. So this is kind of something. Oh, I really appreciate the help with the lighting because I was a little bit concerned with the. I've got 9,000 lumen or whatever, some ridiculous bright some stupidly bright LEDs overhead. And so trying to find a balance so I could turn that off so it wouldn't be quite so bright and still be able to see in here. So, and to keep the living room livable. So here we go. Budget. So steaks. These are really small because it's just my son and I. These are also kind of budgety, and that's okay. These are they run between 5 and 7 pounds at Sainsbury's. So you can also get like the meal deal ones, so or whatever steak you want. And then for our veg, we're going to do some roasted veg. I've got potatoes, onions, tomatoes, bell peppers, and mushrooms that we're going to do in the oven. And so I'm going to start with the steak. This comes with some seasoned butter that I will not use because it's kind of a black pepper stuff and it's a little too strong for me. I'm not a big fan of black pepper myself. So in this case, we're not going to use this butter. I will use regular butter, but not this one. You could do this with New York strip. You could probably do this with any steak. We like the stuff without the bone in it. Bougie, but this will be fine. This will work. Okay, and it's really straightforward. The longest thing that we're going to be waiting on today is for the veg to cook, so it gives us time to talk nerdy. There's lots of nerdy stuff going on, lots of games coming out. I saw someone, I think it was an AI thing, but it was an interesting thought of Henry Cavill as Conan, and I'm like, that could be an interesting remake. Not that we need another Conan the Barbarian remake, but it could be interesting. So the steak. Let's start with our steak. And you need a plate. I'm going to put on this plate. Let me put that over here. And see, that's the thing. That's another reason to not trust that it's because he's got the 40K thing going, and we need to. We need the 40K thing. I think it's kind of like the rumor that they were going to do a Highlander remake. That picture that I saw was so bad. It was like extra fingers, and it was supposed to be who's the Australian guy that was in Gladiator? I can't think of his name. He was supposed to be in it, and I'm like, it didn't look great. So steak. We're going to start with some coarse sea salt. Coarser is better than the fine stuff, and we're just going to kind of coat our plate with it. Not coat, but we're going to sprinkle some kind of evenly across our plate. Not a huge amount, but we're going to sprinkle some of that on the plate. And that's kind of the basis of, because the salt kind of starts to soften the meat, kind of tenderize it a little bit. And then I'm going to grab my teaspoon here. We're not going to use a full teaspoon of anything. This is seasoned to your taste. The initial recipe I saw for this had like cayenne and cumin and a lot of heat that I personally don't like. But you can adjust it how you want. This is a personal flavor kind of thing. But we're going to use a little bit of paprika, right? And basically, we're just going to kind of, you know how when you see the bougie chefs just kind of like throw a little thing at the plate and there's like, oh, it's decorated. That's what we're going to do with our seasoning. We're not going to, you don't, I personally don't like a whole lot. I would not use a whole lot because we're going to let it sit for a while and it's going to kind of absorb that flavor. So you don't need so much. I'm going to use paprika. I've got some onion granules. And I use about the same amount. This may be a quarter teaspoon is what I use for these two steaks. And we're going to kind of sprinkle it. Now, and you know, you gotta, I don't like heavily seasoned foods. I prefer to taste the steak. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like steak sauce too, so it's kind of, yeah, kind of hypocritical. A little bit of black pepper. And this is the coarse ground stuff, so a little bit goes a long way, I think, versus some of the you know, you don't need as much. I'm not going to use all that. That was maybe a quarter teaspoon, eighth of a teaspoon, kind of not very much. I love garlic though, so this is roasted garlic. And probably gonna use a little more of that because I like it. And again, we're just kind of, it's a sprinkle across here. Nothing is coated. Nothing is, well, hello there. And then the last thing, I love the smell of cumin. Can't handle a lot of the heat though. So the initial recipe had a lot of cumin, and my son and I were like, "This is delicious," and while we're crying, but it was too much. So we're just gonna use a little pinch of the cumin for these two steaks, and we're just gonna make sure it's kind of evenly dispersed. And how is everybody tonight? We were talking about Henry Cavill. We were talking about cooking. Talking about armor for Conan, and for hopefully for Dune. I'm excited. Cumin, yeah, you've got to be really, really careful with the cumin. So you can add more, but you can't take it away. Yeah, that we were doing the hurts so good thing. We were like, this is delicious, but let's not do this again. And so it was a little too much. So I can, even with just a pinch, I've got enough I can smell it. And the train going back to Sweden, and I'm bored, so why not watch? Oh, well, how long a train ride is it? I was looking from here to Oslo. It's like a 24-hour train ride. That is a very long train ride. That's so basically my meat here, and we're going to lay it on there. Give it a couple of taps. We're not going to like coat it. It's not supposed to be like breaded or anything, but we're just trying to get a little bit of salt, a little bit of seasoning in there. And then I'm going to flip it over and make sure both sides have some on there. All right. Smells amazing. You can smell a little pepper, smell like paprika. This goes in the bin because I'm not going to use that butter. And then this gets to sit until closer to when the veg is done. About an hour, hour and a half should be plenty. I wouldn't do it less than 45 minutes because you really want it to have time to flavor. Compared to just 6 hours. See, you and I are from North America, so just 6 hours is like, meh. We're going to set that aside. So the next thing we're going to work on, and get some water here. I am so thirsty. Is the potato and the veg. Now, this is, I don't know if it has a name. I just like it. This is one of those things you can use whatever veg you want as much as you want. But someone had asked me about the vegetables. So, vegetable, how to know if your potatoes are good. So you're looking for dry, you're looking for stuff without spots, you're looking for stuff that's not soft. Once it starts going soft, it's gone bad. If you've got one or two eyes, it's okay. If you've got like, you know, something out of you know, some Yog horror thing, it goes in the bin or out in the compost bin for free potatoes later. If it's, you have to be very careful how you store your potatoes. If potatoes start getting a green tint to them, they can make you kind of feel sick. It starts making a toxin that's chlorophyll, and it can kind of upset your stomach. So don't eat the green. Yeah, a little bit of green on one side you can cut off. It's fine. But you don't want to eat if it's got a nice green tint, not even like moldy green. It'll just have, the skin will have kind of a green tint to it. Don't eat that. You can cut it off. You can cut the eyes off. It's one or two. But if it's starting getting soft, it's starting to break down the sugars in there, and it's not going to taste very good. If it's bitter, don't eat it. One way to tell also is it's just going to smell like dirt. You shouldn't be smelling really a whole lot of anything with a fresh potato, but kind of earthy smell. I know. We have worked, and I've said this many times, we have worked really hard to make sure we have a strong community going, and I think that's really great. So let me wash these real quick. Basically, you're just going to use however much potato you want. You know, if you've got, it's like me, I'm going to use probably 3 of these. Size doesn't matter for the potato. And one more, just so I have enough. Basically, we're going to cut these into even slices, and we're going to put them in this pan. I've got an aluminum pan. For you Europeans, it's aluminum. For the Americans, it's aluminum. You can put something in the bottom of it. This pan's pretty easy to clean. It's not going to get too dirty outside of the oil that I'm going to use. But if you've got a sticky pan, you can put foil in the bottom, or parchment paper would probably work better than the foil. So we're going to slice this. I'm always nervous with knives because I'm kind of clumsy. And now you want a baked potato. Yeah. As I said before, I am not a chef. I'm self-trained, so I apologize to anybody who actually knows how to use a knife. Let me make this a little bigger. Or how to actually cook. I do apologize for that. If I can make that. There we go. My knife technique is it cut the thing, and now it's the size I want it. So I'm looking for slices about yay big. The smaller the slices will cook faster, is the thing. If you like your potatoes bigger, you'll need to let it cook longer. And these have, so the potato looks fine from the outside, but there's a little dark spot in here that I'm going to cut out because I don't like them. And just cut it off. You don't have to ditch the whole potato for a dark spot. And we're just going to throw them in the bottom, and we're going to create a layer of potato in the bottom. Watch your fingers if you're like me and not, confident with the knife. Form doesn't matter. It's potato. It's going to go on the bottom. But they need to be about the same thickness so that they'll cook about the same speed. Is the hope, anyway. Again, sorry for anybody who actually knows how to do stuff at the kitchen. I fill an empty spot. I am not a chef. I have made enough that I've covered this whole pan. I've made enough that I only do half the pan and just kind of push it all to one side. That's fine. However much potato you want. I won't eat this whole tray tonight, but I will nibble on it over the next couple of days because it does reheat very well. And try to keep my fingers out from underneath the blade. And so I've got this. These are the pieces I don't want. Into the bin. I have a layer of potato in the bottom. And I'm going to use some olive oil. And I'm going to kind of just drizzle it all over the top. Because olive oil is healthy, right? And by drizzle, I mean I use a lot. And I'm going to put some salt on it. I'm going to use the same salt as before, just not as much. I'm going to do a layer of salt with my technique, right? Please don't slice potatoes while looking at the camera. Oh, Come on. Okay. Next veg, someone had asked about onions. So to know whether they're done or not, ready to eat or too bad, onions need to be papery on the outside. They shouldn't be wet. They shouldn't be overly soft. Again, you should smell onion. You shouldn't smell funk. If you're seeing lots of black spots or mold, it's probably gone all the way through. So, but keep onions and potatoes someplace dry, someplace with a steady temperature. Potatoes you can, in theory, keep for a long time. I've never been able to manage to keep them very long. People say you can store them for months. I'm like, mine start like seeking the light. It starts making, it starts getting kind of Cthulhu-y if I leave them too long. And I'm sure Gordon Ramsay has some magic technique for getting this paper off evenly and nicely, and I can never master that. And I'm not going to look at the camera so Paolo doesn't panic. I do like my fingers attached where they are. And we're going to do the same thing with these, with an onion. I'm not going to do both onions, I don't think, that we did with the potato. And we're just going to cut chunks about the same piece, same size. You can do against the grain, so you can get rings. You can do it dicey. It doesn't really matter as far as flavor goes. If you're all about the presentation, then obviously, you're welcome to do. Who needs fingers? Ugh. I do touch type, thank you very much. I use all, I know how to type. It would be weird to not be able to type again. I used to, back in the day, I was a classically trained violinist. And I used to play a little bit of piano, self-taught, kind of like my cooking. And I even started trying to learn the organ, but I never could figure out how to read the bass clef, and so that really hampers your. There we go. So onion, and I'm just gonna cut it into pieces. But yeah, having fingers is helpful if I ever decide to make music again. I don't know if I'll be able to, but it would be nice. And just being able to type is quite handy. And so I'm just going to layer all this in here. Just throw it all down. Kind of chunk it up. Try not to get too close because I don't like the fumes in my eyeballs. Actually, I'm going to do that other onion because that's not nearly enough. I like red onion. I prefer roasting with red onions. Red onions are also nice for burgers. Violin Stream went. I literally haven't played in a long time. When I developed vertigo, one of the things that I hate about the Devil's Chill Sonata, my vertigo is sound makes it worse. So like thinking about the Dune movie soundtrack, how it's got that low cello sound and that low hum sound to a lot of the really great parts of it, I can't listen to it. It makes me so sick. And I hate that. I hate it so much. Hence me kind of saying I wasn't sure if I'd ever be able to play music again. Hopefully we can get it under control. That would be lovely. But, things are what they are. I would love to play again, though. I haven't played in a long time. Time flies, and then you get old, and you're like, back in the day, I used to do a thing. I used to be creative and do stuff. It happens, right? It happens. But it's okay. Come on. Okay. So we got Back in the day, I used to play about music, and now I'm like, which side of the glasses do I look up or under to see stuff? That's how that goes. This is where my inner Gordon Ramsay comes out and slaps my head with the bread and calls me an idiot sandwich for not being able to cut up stuff in a neat, consistent way. Like, I don't care, Gordon. You'll cook fine, right? All right. Let's throw all that in there. And all this while, the steak is marinating. That smells amazing. So we got the onion smell. We got the cumin smell. Alrighty. I'm going to throw all that across the top. Let me wash my hands real quick. There's onion. Okay. Yeah, okay. Let me throw that into the bin. I got all the skin over here on my counter now. I try to clean up as I go. My kitchen is so small, you kind of have to. Kind of have to. But that's okay. Alrighty. Now we'll clean that up later. Then some olive oil across the top, because why not? I'm going to start that preheating. Some salt. The other veg I like on mine we've got bell pepper, we got tomato. My son won't eat this, but he will for his veg. We'll have some spinach and some bell pepper. So I need to make sure I got enough bell pepper cut up for both of us. Get a different knife since he doesn't like onion. Does it look like anyone else? Does it look like to anyone else that the autofocus is angry? Maybe it's just my face. Think about that. Maybe it's just my face. Let's see. Is it okay? Making sure. It's a new camera. I haven't. This is my first time using it, so actually, let me get a different cutting board since it is for my son. He won't like the. And I'm making strips out of these. Like she goes fuzzy and then comes back. Maybe it's just my face. Maybe it's a full moon and I'm fighting my lycanthropy. That could be it. Could be it. These don't have to be fancy. I'm just making kind of stick-like objects with the bell pepper. So I'm going to put that one in there, and then I'm going to get this other red one cut up for him. Too nice to be a werewolf. Oh. Be the nicest werewolf ever. Bell peppers kind of like someone else, back to how do you know if your stuff is good? It's going to be dry. It's going to be firm. It's not going to have any black spots. Sometimes when you cut them open, I've had instances where you're like, it looks fine, and you cut them open and it's all grody. Throw the whole thing out if it's moldy on the inside, because mold spores, it's kind of like what you see is only part of it. And if you're seeing mold in it, or like bread, then it's the whole thing is got to go in the bin. This one's going to be the one for my son. I'm doing this. I've got the oven preheating. I've got it set to about 200 Celsius. I forget what that is in Fahrenheit. I don't remember my freedom units for this one. Sorry, guys. I think only like 3 countries in the world still use Fahrenheit. Mold adds flavor. Ew. Protein. Okay. Oop. And basically we're just going to throw all this in here because that's going to be his for later. And I'll put what's left on there because these go bad so fast. When you buy veg at the store, use it as close to the day you buy it as possible. A lot of veg, it looks fine at the store, then you get it home and like 24 hours later it's done. So just be mindful that sometimes it can be really hard to tell what it is that's going on. Then let's see, there, some olive oil on top. So this is getting kind of thick, so this is going to take a little bit to cook. This will take about 45 minutes to cook. I've got these big mushrooms. I love big mushrooms, and I'll cut them in the same slices. These are going to be a little bit thicker because they will cook really fast. I'm going to put those all on top. Mushrooms, if they are slimy looking, if they're wet looking, these are a little bruised from being in the bottom. Be mindful. Again, if one in the package has got mold on it, it's probably all got mold on it. If it's wet, it's bad. I've seen lots of controversy on cleaning them. They soak water or whatever, and I'm like, the oven kills the germs, right? And these aren't dirty. I did check them beforehand. And I'm going to throw some of these scraped tomatoes on top. Tomatoes should not be moldy, should be dry. They should smell like tomato, a little bit earthy, especially if you're getting them still on the stem. But they shouldn't be, if you've got a lot of bruises or dents, or if it's got a little mushy to it, it's not good. Yeah, you kind of know when your mushrooms go bad. You kind of know. And I love these things. Okay. Olive oil on top. Kind of make sure it's all evened out there. Some salt on top. Some foil on top. I have some foil. Where'd it go? There it is. Yeah. Also, just be careful where you get your mushrooms. I'm all for, growing your own stuff, but mushrooms can be potentially very dangerous if you aren't very certain of their source. So unless you're growing your own in like a closet where it hasn't cross-contaminated at all with anything, and you've made sure that your growth medium has been sterilized properly beforehand to make sure there's no cross-contamination potential. Because if you're making them at home, if you're growing them at home, you essentially have to sterilize the soil. You have to kill everything in your growth medium before the mushrooms go on. Okay. And that's going to go in the oven. Where's my timer? And then I'm going to set the timer for about 40 minutes. We can check it. Ideally, what's going to happen is those vegetables are going to roast down. And then I'll pull the foil off. And then I'm going to put some of this mozzarella on top and pop it in for a few more minutes while I do the steak. If you want to grow your own tomatoes, it can be or grow your own mushrooms. Sorry, I was thinking. Then you need to be like a real fan of mushrooms. I think you can get some small home kits, but I don't know what kind of volume you'd be getting, or if they're going to end up being like Chia Pet, where you're just like, it's some novelty thing. I don't know if you'd actually get a volume out of it that's usable, or more than one batch. If you're wanting to have a consistent source of something for yourself, excuse me, it sounds like a lot of work. Or you're going to be like someone who grows tomatoes and eggplants, where if you have them, you're like up to your eyeballs, and everybody in the neighborhood knows that you've got extra because you're going to be up to your eyeballs in these. But they do sound like a lot of work, so I don't see myself growing them unless I want a lot of them. You can air dry them. You can dry them and save them. And if you grow like a whole batch, maybe every other year. Yeah, garlic can propagate. Potato can propagate. Onion can propagate. It's funny. Tomatoes are funny little plants. They can be so fragile, and then at the same time, they start growing out of your compost heap. I lived in one place in California. I had the worst upstairs neighbors. They were constantly throwing slop, essentially, over the balcony, and it was destroying the tree that was underneath. Oh, it's one of those guys. Ignore him, please. It was burning a hole in the tree because it was like a topiary shrub out in front of the building, and underneath it, all these tomatoes were growing up, and it's just like, of all things, why the tomatoes grown? Because that's what tomatoes do. They are defiant little things. You want them? Nah. You don't want them? We're everywhere. Like pumpkins. If you ever grow pumpkin, be prepared to have that as your yard, or just spend a lot of time kind of overtaking. I know. I potatoes find a way. Yes. if this type of stream takes off, I will see about getting a more consistent moderator, because I don't know how many people are watching right now. How many people are watching right now? I got 14 people watching right now. If I was on my desktop, it'd be easier for me, but on this laptop, I can't really run multiple programs. On my desktop, I've got like two monitors and things, so it's a little bit easier for me to squish people. 15, woo! There it goes. I see it. So it's harder on this laptop. The laptop is great. It does what I need it to do, except for that. Because someone was like, I was watching you. It's probably whoever the bot was. Okay, so that tomato I was going to throw away because it got a little smooshed in transport. I love these little grape tomatoes. Ah, I'm cold. That's okay. We're having fun, right? Steam Beauty says dozens of people are watching on my Facebook group. Really? I didn't even think about Facebook. My Facebook is so limited. But so now we wait. I guess I could. Oh, let's see. I made notes for the veg to make sure I didn't miss anything important, right? Potatoes look for firm, clean potatoes with tight, unwrinkled skin, avoiding cuts, bruises, discoloration, sprouts, or soft spots. Right. Because it's a tuber, as it starts to grow the eyes, it'll start to break down the carbohydrate, the starch on the inside, into something that it will use to grow. It's basically a big seed. So once that starts, the breaking down on the inside, it does change the flavor on the inside. We are having fun. Woo! You don't have Facebook. Uh, I still have Facebook. I have had Facebook since the days when you had to have a .edu um, email to get into it. And the reason I have Facebook from way back then was when I was in university. One of my required classes for my major was you had to take a speech class, and uh, just generic how to organize a presentation, which is probably a good skill for most people. But I enjoyed it a lot, and the instructor came to me after and said, "Would you be interested in doing speech forensics?" And I ended up doing speech forensics for 4 semesters. Uh, I can't remember why I started talking about that. Speech, I don't remember now. Oh, Facebook. And one of the things initially, there was an instructor at the a satellite campus that was using MySpace, and I'm like, I have standards, but we made a Facebook group. Like back, this was a little ways ago, to uh, to keep track of each other. But I felt like an old fogey because I was older when I went to university compared to most of my peers that were in that class. Most of them were quite young. Uh, but speech forensics was a lot of fun. We competed nationally. Came in second for an event. Never even heard of .edu. University emails in the states are .edu. I just, I think I missed the MySpace craze. I think I was just a little too old for it. Kind of like I'm too old for TikTok now. I don't know how I would fit in with the TikTok crowd. Someone was saying I should stream this to TikTok, and I'm like, that would require me to be on TikTok, and I don't know how well that would work. So, can you imagine on doing Dune profiles? That could be fun, though. Could be fun. There was when Prophecy came out. Uh, Dune had a little thing, that a little badgy thingy that you could put with your uh, Discord profile. That was quite nice. It was kind of fun, you know. I see TikTok is so broad, and it is really, it feels like because of the format, doing something like a cooking stream that takes, an hour, hour and a half, kind of be against the intended audience, which is looking for something for, the younger crowd goes in for, the dances and things like that are like 60 seconds, 90 seconds. The older crowd does political stuff. There's lots of political posts and things, but again, those are only 3 or 4 minutes. People don't want to have someone talk at them for an hour on an app that's kind of geared for that. So I don't think I'm the intended audience or user or creator for that. I could be wrong. I'm always open to trying new stuff. The only reason I'm on Reddit is to do self promotion. I know it sounds really bad. When I was first started doing content creation, I was doing a lot more Conan stuff, and I put all my builds up on the Conan Reddit thing, which the first 2 3 builds were not received well. I don't know if it's because I sucked or if it was because it was Reddit and Reddit does what Reddit does. And then they kind of warmed up for me. The Dune Reddit still despises me, and so I don't post in there anymore. It's still a little bit of a wild west wasteland in there, and I don't know if it's Reddit or if it's me or if it's that particular forum or what. So yeah, we do what we do, right? It's kind of a take it or leave it kind of thing, and the political stuff on Reddit and video. maybe it's. I think the way we consume media in the last 12 years has changed a lot. I remember teaching a university class, and I remember saying that Twitter was going to create a TMI generation. And when in Twitter in its early days was everybody, it was the Instagram thing. Everybody taking pictures of their food. Everybody talking about going to the bathroom. There was suddenly this invitation into everybody's lives for every little thing, and uh, it's kind of created this mindset now that where are our personal boundaries as individuals? Do we have privacy? What is privacy? Uh, what should we share? What shouldn't we share? And I think it can, especially then on top of that, the pandemic, which drove everybody inside, and then people have this new interaction with media because that was the only way to socialize. And so it became very different. And I think we're still trying to navigate what does that mean on a scale that we've not had to navigate before. I was thinking the other day about um, school curriculum in the 1800s. It was very, arithmetic heavy and very history heavy and very factual. And you had to learn all of these facts. And I've seen people complain, why don't we learn that way anymore? And I'm like, well, okay, that was 150 years ago. It's 150 more years more fact to learn. Okay. And some of those facts, as people are pointing out now, are not necessarily, there's always bias. And there's, how do you teach a fact? So, like in grade school, this is an isthmus, this is a peninsula, this is an island. Okay, that one's easy. But when you start talking about history, facts start becoming a little more harder to talk about. And we have a lot of history in the last 150 years going on. And it's hard to cram all of that into those 12 years and still cover the basics. And so things start shaving off the edges. And then we have schools that still have history books where Reagan was president at the end of the book. Um, I remember when I was in uni, one interesting thing I was looking at that was talking about curriculum that was actually really interesting to me was the age old thing of we're running out of time, we're running out of money, what do we cut? And of course, people start looking at the arts first. Uh, this was around the 1900s, so the sports thing wasn't as big a thing as it is now, especially in the US. It's not big here in the UK, which is kind of nice. It's important, but it doesn't tend to be, it's not like Texas Knights with, I grew up with, Odessa, Midland Odessa's football team being like, that was church on Friday night lights and Saturdays and Sundays and just football. But one teacher at a school said, at the elementary school he was working at, he said we should cut math. Of course, everybody goes, excuse me, you want me to cut math? That's kind of a core subject. And he pointed out that in child psychology, we know this, little kids, like age 3 and 4, have no concept of math. They can parrot numbers back at you, but in general, they literally don't have the neurons to conceptualize math concepts, especially things like volume. They will insist to their dying breath that the short back container will hold more than the tall skinny container, even though you can pour them back and forth. We know that they both hold 40 milliliters. They cannot comprehend that. You could show it to them. Look, they're the same. They cannot comprehend it. They don't have the neurons yet to do so. And so advanced math concepts like multiplication, he's like, they can parrot it back, but they don't understand what it means. They have no concept of what those things actually mean and how to conceptualize and move forward with analysis or comparison or things like that that we use math concepts for. So he said, we'll pare it back to basic math concepts, multiplication, not even multiplication, addition, subtraction, basic word problems. And he said, instead of doing a lot of math, we're going to do basic numeracy. And instead, we're going to take that time and we're going to have not a speech class, but an oral problems class where they're given almost philosophy questions, age appropriate ones, and conceptualize problems that, so and so's playing on the playground and this thing happens. What do you do? And how would you react? And is this right? Is this wrong? And they did this in the schools with poorer children because the richer parents couldn't, weren't going to put up with it. But the younger children, and then when they hit like sixth grade, they did a year of catch up, and consistently the kids who had not had the traditional math classes did better on multiplication and division and word problems because that's what they had been doing. And so it was an interesting study. And I'm watching my numbers fall. I'm talking nerd talk, and people are like, no, we're not going to talk politics. But that's okay. I struggle with conceptualizing multiplication tables. I struggled with my multiplication tables for a long time. And the only thing that saved me in multiplication is Schoolhouse Rock. And kind of as an adult, some of those things started clicking. Schoolhouse Rock is the bomb for teaching math, and teaching multiplication is, even if it's just rote memorization to get started, to understand those concepts. It was a very powerful tool, and I wish that there was more of it. The cool people are still here. I know. And I get it. It's I've been chatting for 45 minutes. People are like, oh, I gotta go. Yeah. It's your glittery personality. It's my lycanthropy. It's the lycanthropy. Maybe it's vampirism. A ghostly paleness. I never go outside. Except I love garlic, so I guess it can't be that. This oven is very hot. But I'm trying to think if there's anything I can do that won't be too noisy while we wait. I'm going to try and wash a little dish. Tell me if it's too loud. Give me a second. That way it's not so bad when I have to clean up later. I'm kind of lazy that way. Ideally, your dishes, your knives don't go in the dishwasher. You know what happens when you put them in the dishwasher? That's what happens when you put them in the dishwasher. They can get a little manky. So yeah. And always be careful with the blades and how you put them in trays and things. Let's go dishes time. Woo! Don't set myself on fire. What shameless plug might you be talking about? I don't know what you're talking about at all. I don't know. What might you be saying? But I do have a dishwasher. It's like one tray wide. It's very tiny. I do need to get my cutting board clean though. I do use plastic cutting boards so I can put them in the dishwasher because I just feel they're more sanitary. The wood ones are so hard to keep clean and just require a lot of work. My ex-mother-in-law had a cabin that was made out of, she lived in a log cabin in the woods, and her counters, a lot of the wood in her house was essentially reclaimed stuff. I remember coming over to her house one time, and she was like, you will use a cutting board. I will not see you cutting anything on my counter. And I'm like, why would I cut anything on your counter? Yeah, the dishwasher. I remember growing up, we had one for a little while, and I don't remember what happened to it. It broke. And then my parents had us as the dishwashers, my older brother and I. And then thank y'all. My son designed that for me. He designed the from the total solar eclipse last year, and then I put the dune on it. But the dishwashers, I mean, they wanted to have a dishwasher. I guess we weren't suitable, and they bought one that was you had to hook up externally the pipes, hoses to the faucets and things. Oh, it was such a pain. And you had to load the dishes through the top. So it was not very effective. It was super loud, water everywhere. They finally got a quote unquote real dishwasher not long after that. And then they moved into a much older house. So that was not a good idea. Excuse me. Enzymes and what actually help kill the bacteria. Yeah, it's hard to find. So there's the wood. You could either way you're getting the potential for particulate up into your food. Uh, you're risking mold damage or plastic or it's what it's literally pick your poison. Thank you. He was very proud of that. This is actually a pretty popular. I turned it into a gift to put into the Dune Discord because I thought it was funny. And then what's extra fiber? It's splinters. I thought it would look really good on a tumbler, and it does. It looks very nice on the tumbler. Let me peek in here. With my high tech. My high tech light here. One thing I do love in my kitchen is silicone tongs. Silicone anything I like is because it doesn't stain. It's pretty durable. It cleans up really well and nothing sticks to it. So let me try this. I'm blasted in the face with 200-degree. And mostly I'm looking at the onion because that's kind of my gauge of where I like everything. My onion needs a little bit longer, I think. And then about the time the onion gets done and I pull it out to put the cheese on top, I'll turn the temp down and then I can start the steak. The steak will cook pretty fast. I have a couple of these. I had the spring goes out on them, or this thing breaks on them, the lock thing, and then it kind of comes apart. So I've got that one. I've got a black one. I have an itty bitty yellow one, and I'll probably use this one for the steaks. So flashback. I got a purple one. What are you saying? Huh? What are you saying? Oh, goodness. That tried to come down on me. I'm not going to go up there to fix that. Basically, I have a bit of cloth to act as a diffuser over those lights. And good to know. Okay. Oh, hi. Watch my head. Yeah. This is, hold on. So if I fall to my death, at least it'll be a good clip, right? And I need to move that out of the way. All right. Oof. But I've got this cloth up here to act as a diffuser over these really stupidly bright lights. And what I need to do is figure a way to pin the edges up a little bit more because the cabinet door hits it. Ta-da! I didn't die. Technical difficulties. Hey, I got the sound fixed. The lighting is better. But yeah, there's always something, right? It's just not a stream if there's not some kind of technical weirdness. Fixing things. Yeah. The picture's still good, though. It's always good. My high-tech fixes. And hey, I'm always careful. Yay! But yeah, the let's see, I'm trying to think. For the steak, it's I'm gonna be able to start that in just about 10 minutes. The camera is really, really good. So the veg is in the oven. The steak is doing its thing. Smells amazing because cumin. And then we'll pan fry that. You could probably grill it, but you would want to make sure that you had a meat that wasn't as lean as that, because I think if you put that on a grill, it would become leather very quickly. It's very, very lean. Yeah, it's still, if I kind of stand over here, it's not so bad. But it's still a little brighter than what I'd like. But I'm able to work without that light, and that one was so bright before. And when we tested before, Paolo had helped me because he used to be a photographer in the previous life, and it was just like, oh look, there's this white blah. It was just like my forehead, and then oh, it's Meg. It was his forehead first. Yes, steak and grilled veg is the plan. And so I'm waiting for this veg to get a little more done. I'm gonna eat this minute. I'm gonna stop eating the veg because I'm just out of it. Mm-mm-mm. The salad dressing my son likes. And then it more than I thought it would. 90 seconds, 2 minutes. The goal is I'm going to have the oil really hot. I'm not going to like deep fry it, but there's going to be enough oil in it so I can get a good sear. About 90 seconds, 2 minutes. Flip it about 3 times the side, and I'm going to throw some butter on top and do that 2 or 3 more times. I like mine medium. Sorry, medium rare. My son likes his closer to medium. So I need to make sure that his is cooked a shade longer, but a little pink is okay. But he doesn't want anything, any liquid or anything. So closer to medium for his. Like I said, I don't mind. There was a time I used to like, rare enough. You stick a shock to it and it moves. Yay, food! Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it uh, and chatting with us. I know it's food time for a lot of people. Food is good. Not quite blue, um, but definitely more rare. Uh, I like steak tartare as long as that's too heavy on the raw onion. I'm not a big fan of a lot of raw onion, but I do like steak tartare. But it's again something you have to be very careful where you get it from. I wouldn't eat steak tartare probably in the States except at like a high end place. Muad'Dib cookies. I have a plan for closer to when Dune launches. So Muad'Dib cookies are definitely on the plan. Maybe some spice bowl cookies because using chocolate chip because we don't. But you could use Snickerdoodle at home if you're doing it. But neither one of us here eats cinnamon. Uh, you could use chocolate chip and then purple sprinkles for the spice blows, and then the Muad'Dib cookies. I found a cookie cutter that we could we can roll out the dough, cookie cutter a couple of Muad'Dibs, and then do some chocolate frosting on it, chocolate icing. And if I can figure out some Middle Eastern type food, that would be amazing. I love grape leaves, but I'm gonna bet they are well above my noob ability to make. I love them though, but anything, I'm willing to look at. See, I used to eat cinnamon a lot as a kid. Cinnamon toast was the thing. Uh, we made kind of a poor man's rice pudding. We would just make regular rice and then stir in a little butter, a little sugar, a little cinnamon, and that was dessert a lot for us. But I'm really kind of particular about it. I don't like a whole lot of cinnamon. I had a friend growing up who had a toaster oven and made the best toast in that toaster oven. And I remember it used to come out this, you butter it, you put it in, and it would come out this amazing golden color. And then there was a type of plum jelly that it was cheap. It was the jelly jar. That was your drinking jar jelly. So it was like some store brand jar, and that shit was the bomb. And I wish I could have some of that plum stuff again, but I haven't seen it in years. But if from the States, I don't know if it's all of the States or just in the South, but jelly jars make good glasses. That's just jelly jar glasses. Here, I have Nutella glasses, and I think when we lived in Germany, I had a lot of Nutella glasses. Probably as an indicative of my Nutella habit that I've been trying to cut back on because it sticks with you. I'm going to check on my food again. And hopefully it doesn't blast me. It's going to blast me in the face again. Okay, that's looking a lot better. Let's get the pot holder here. I'm going to turn that heat down a smidge. Come on. It's a little heavier than I expected it to be. I'm going to take that off. Got a big blast of heat. And then I'm going to shredded mozzarella. You could probably use the sliced discs of mozzarella, but I like the shredded just because it's easy. Also, remember, cheese, like bread, if you see through the package any green, the whole thing goes away. The molds that in soft cheeses can make you very, very, very sick. All jokes aside, do not eat moldy soft cheese unless it's meant to be, like refer to blue cheese. This is not meant to be moldy. If you're seeing chunks in it, even hard cheeses like cheddar or Parmesan, I would still be very leery about eating if it had mold. Theoretically, you can scrape the mold off of those, but the mold that likes cheeses, the visible part is only a small part of the stuff that's in it, and it's just going to be, the mycelia are just going to be all over it, and that kind of mold can make people very, very sick. So moldy cheese, unless you're eating something like blue cheese or something like that, just ban it. It's not worth. Yeah, I like it shredded too because you get more coverage, and just I like a lot of cheese on my pizza. I haven't made pizza in a bit. I've got a good pizza recipe, but it's not something I think I could do on stream because it takes so long. You got to do. It's like making bread. You spend a lot of time waiting for it to rise, and then you beat it down. You wait for it to rise again, and it's a very the actual pizza part. Once you start rolling it out, it doesn't take very long. I mean, pizza only takes like 10 minutes to bake, but with a fresh crust. But the whole bread making part is what's tedious. Okay, so I like cheese on my. What started out as a healthy bit of veg is now turned into salt and cheese. Have enough. Make sure it's an even coat. And my oven is really, really hot right now, so I'm going to turn that down to about 100. Because I just need it to melt, this cheese really, while I cook the steak. Oh, that's heavy. That's going to be interesting. And I'm putting just enough oil in the bottom of this pan to coat it. This one's an old Tefal pan, so technically it's non-stick, but you still want the oil. I would love to have cast iron, but this is what I got. Don't put your Tefal in the dishwasher; it lasts longer. So we're gonna turn that heat up really high, and because I don't like to be splattered, I'm gonna put that on there. Mold, not mold. Mold, no. Mold, bad. I tend to do pizza from scratch sometimes. It's nice to make whenever it works out right. I made pizza for a friend, but okay, a year and a half ago, I made this steak for a friend, and it didn't turn out very well. I'm still embarrassed about it. I tried making pizza for the same friend; it turned out shitty too. So I've been spending like the last 2 years going, I promise I know how to cook, and he's like, sure you do. But so that's going to take a minute to get hot. Pop that back in the fridge. Use that for that. Oh, I was going to make garlic bread, and let me see. I got a store brand. I don't know if I can get it in my oven here, my freezer. It's just a store brand thingy. It's like, £1.50 or frozen. And that will go in at the last minute because the oven is already really, really hot. No, he really was very, very kind about it. I'm more worried about my ability to cook. My friend was really, really nice about it. It was me. It was all me. If there's a way to self-flagellate over something, I will do so. They were very kind about the pizza. Well, the kids were very good about kind of hiding their disappointed faces, but the adults were all very kind about the mishaps with the cooking. No, it was fine. It was fine. The kids didn't go hungry. We all ate. It was good. But this will be better. In my defense, I was at someone else's house. It does happen. I was at someone else's house and using stuff that I'm not used to using. And if you're used to your pans and a stove that cooks a certain way and ingredients that you're used to, doing it at someone else's house with different equipment can be different. Like my oven gets hotter than it says it is. So if you don't know how hot the oven gets, or the pan is different or the cook's different, you're I'm not a good enough cook to compensate for a crappy stove or a stove I'm not used to. It may have been a great stove. Maybe I'm used to a crappy stove. I don't know. Swapping equipment can cause stress. It really, really can. I keep thinking I want to get a new frying pan because this one's getting a little dodgy. I've had it for like 12 years. And okay, if you're not familiar with how to test hot oil, I think everybody here knows this. But if you're not familiar how to test hot oil, put a little water in your hand and flick it. If it pops, it's hot. If it doesn't pop, it's not hot yet. If you put the meat in before it's really hot, you're just going to get greasy meat. Oh, sure thing. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, it feels weird when you're doing it at someone else's house and you're like, is this hot enough? Is this pan right? Is it going to scorch? If there's a way to scorch something, I will scorch it. Oh God, I'm trying to remember the last time I cooked at my parents'. I haven't. That was a long time ago, and it was kind of hellish. Um, my parents are special. I remember opening up like the butter, and it was moldy, and she was like, "Oh, I'll just scrape some off." I'm like, "No, it's not." Or we were so veg lacking. We went to Sam's, and Mom's like, just get whatever you want. And my son comes over and he's got like this big bag of spinach and broccoli. And he's like, please, can I have a vegetable? And I was like, yes, we can have a vegetable. So I don't know if you can hear that it's starting to pop a little bit. Make sure. Yep. Yeah, it's getting hot. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit because I don't want it to roast my face. I'm going to pop this into the oven because that needs 10 minutes. I can hear my oil starting to pop a little bit. And even with this, I'm still going to get popped. And I'm just going to lay my meat very carefully in there. Whoops. And it's cooking. I kind of miss cooking with gas stoves because, in a sense, you have the flame is touching the pan. I can tell how hot it is. I can tell it's lower. When with an electric, it's a little harder to tell. Oh, thank you. I was looking at the other video and I was like, the sound was really bad. So this mic, I'm glad is working better. You can hear it popping. Now as things start getting a little busy, I'm going to flip that. It's got a nice little sear on it. It's got the start of the sear, but we don't want it to soak up the oil. All right. That one goes over here. Let me get stuff out because we're almost done. Flip that again. It requires. It kind of does. It kind of does. And I haven't been able to cook on a gas stove in a long time. It smells amazing in here. It's hot as fuck standing in front of this oven, but it smells amazing in here. The veg smell good. This meat smells amazing. And I'm really happy with what I've got going so far. Flip that again. Ooh, that's looking real good. One thing I didn't know growing up either, that I didn't learn until much later in life, is the importance of letting a steak sit for a moment. I didn't know that you should do that. Which probably, yeah. I mean, I know some people. There's also the controversy: are you going to use briquettes? Or are you going to use propane for your grilling as well? I like propane because, again, I can have some control over getting it hotter or not. Oh, hi, Kason's kid. How are you? But especially, I mean, you got to let your meat sit for a moment. It'll keep it from being dry or tough in the middle. It prevents it. It's not as likely to get dry or tough in the middle. So while that's cooking, I'm going to start my son's stuff over here, so he can have his stuff. We got to put the salad dressing on the side. Kiddo, did you want bell pepper? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Oh, that's looking really good. Here in a moment, I'm going to throw some butter on top. Let's see. Yeah, we live in a an interesting time for fuel prices. We really do. Okay, so a little bit of bell pepper for the kiddo. A bit more. We don't want it to sit in the grease and soak it up. We want it to sear on it, not sit in it. And then I'm gonna put some butter on it. Paulo lives in Brazil, and Paulo likes to tease us with pictures of what he does on the grill every summer because he's a mean person. He puts them all over Twitter, and he's like, "Look at me! I'm eating all this amazing barbecue." That's he sends you the skewers and yeah, he's mean in a nice way. In a nice way. So with that, we're gonna make sure the butter stays on it. No, don't cool down. Fuelless flavor. It can be. You say that. Back to my parents. My dad was a redneck, and usually when you have a smoker, for those of you who have smoked meat, you know this is a multi-day event. This is not something you sit down and go, "Hey, it's noon. I want to have smoked ribs for dinner." You don't do that. Um, or if you do, then you're going to be very disappointed. But needless to say, the meat was not smoking because he didn't plan ahead, and it wasn't getting hot, it wasn't smoking, and so he decided that we had these really nice looking ribs. They were short ribs, and he wanted it to smoke, so he put diesel on it. And let that sink in for a minute because he sure did. He put diesel on it, and we were forced to eat it because otherwise we would hurt his feelings. So diesel infused meat. But obviously, his feelings were more important than us consuming carcinogenic diesel smoke. Okay, I think that's gonna be my last flip, and then in a minute I'll pull that off. And then I will be able to pull my meat and stuff out. Yeah, definitely. It did. And if you've ever been around diesel smoke, I think part of it was because he drove truck for a long time. I think he was just nose blind to that smell because diesel smoke has a smell, and it's such a strong smell. I think it just kind of soaks into you. I'm trying to get Yeah, it was not nice. It was not nice at all. Um, yeah, we were not allowed to say no whenever he tried to poison us that way. That's It was not allowed. But I'm called a picky eater. There was a lot of I was just being picky. I'm like, I just don't want to die. I don't. Okay, so this looks good. I'm gonna pull it off the heat. That's gonna be his. I'm gonna take the thicker one because it's gonna be a little. So this is hold on. Got a nice little sear on it. You can see, steamy, smoky. And we're gonna let that sit for a moment to distribute the juices. What happens when meat gets hot, all of the fibers constrict and all of any juice in it is now stuck in the middle. And if you cut the side, whenever the juice in the middle lets go, it's just going to kind of run out the side because the edges are kind of seared. So you don't want to cut it. You want to let it sit for a moment so that the juices on the inside can kind of equalize so you don't get a piece of shoe leather. Okay. Try and get this out of here. This is a little heavy. Aha! And then my garlic bread's got a minute. I'm going to see if I can't move this camera a little bit so I can show you the veg in the pan. That's the veg in the pan. It's all melted and gooey and nice and soft. Aha, there's my bread. Hold on. Put that back. Yep, okay. And then I can pull the bread out. Turn it off so it'll stop blasting heat in my face. I hate this bottom tray so much. Passion of 1,000 suns. Okay, so put that over there on the side. Try to keep it off that burner. Okay. Cut up my garlic bread here. I hate being short. You see, I'm like having to get up on my tiptoes to stand over the stove and reach the back. Pizza cutter for the garlic bread. Okay. Garlic bread. And then for my son, I'm going to cut some steak. Steak knife. And oh, it smells really good in here. This one turned out medium. See if you can see that. The camera lighting is not very great, but it turned out medium. It's a nice homogeneous color. And I wish you could see how much juice is on this cutting board because it's good. And give me a second, I'll cut the bigger piece. So it'll be a little more rare, I think. So we got to cut that up for him. It's got a little pink in it, but oh, fine. Oh, that's good. Okay. 1 second, and I'll cut up the rest. Okay. So let's cut this up so I can show you what it looks like. It's dripping. It's pink. It's tender. It's good. So I do know how to cook on my yeah, there it goes. Too close and it kind of whites out, but you can kind of see because I got a little pink juice, a nice pink in the middle. Yeah, that's perfect. And then cuts nice. One hazard of cheaper meat is it can be really tough, or don't see it so much here, but in the States you get like the meat that's been kind of overly soaked in the fluid, so it's got a lot of water weight and that cooks out. But don't really have that so much here. But the salt that it sits in for that hour helps kind of break it down so it's not quite so chewy. And let's look at the veg. So we got cheese. And it's basically whatever veg you like. I mean, you could do it with any of these. You could probably put eggplant in it or zucchini, but you need to be careful because those tend to be a little dense, and you need to adjust your temperature and heating time accordingly versus the mushrooms on top, which will cook really fast, and the cheese if you're wanting cheese on it. But like, so I can find some of this onion. It's coming apart. It's really, really soft. Just roast onion. Nope. This does reheat really well. You can pop it in the fridge, and then tomorrow I can put it back in this pan, whatever serving size I want, pop it in the oven for a few minutes on about 120 Celsius, and it reheats really well. And it keeps really well for a couple of days in the fridge, which is nice. And the light is a little bright, but there you go. You can kind of see. That's good. So that is how we do the steak. That's how we do the vegetables. Again, this is a pretty cheap meal. The meat cost me, I think, £5.50 for the 2 pieces for us because there's the 2 of us. And then potatoes are generally cheap. Onions generally pretty cheap. I think the most expensive single ingredient would probably be the mushrooms or the cheese outside of the steak. So it's very affordable. Yes, cheese. And easy to make. So you don't have to be like a gourmet to cook it. The steak is easy. I think for a long time I was intending to buy steak. I think getting a good cut, you get what you pay for. If you can get a better cut, then definitely do so if your budget allows when it comes to meat. I always buy the leaner meat because like in the States you can get like the 80/20 for the mince or whatever. I'm not going to, why am I paying for fat that I'm going to pour away? My doorbell. So get the best you can afford for the purpose that you're using it for. If I'm grilling, I'll use a fattier meat because that way it's not dry. If I'm cooking on the stove, I use a leaner meat, so it's not bathing or I'm not pouring it out. So any questions, comments, concerns about my cooking? All my fingers are still attached. That's always good. That was one nice thing about being in Germany is there was local butchers and there was like a separate butcher deli thing inside the grocery store that you could always get good meats from, and generally fresher meats. Hey, it's Mm, it's actually water. I'm really, really thirsty. But just even getting a good quality cut meat, the steak dinner for 15 pounds between the 2 of us is pretty affordable. I did get the store fixed. They said there was a problem internally on their side, so everything should be fixed. There's some different stuff up. There's some mugs, there's some stickers. The Depending on demand, I might put some more stuff up. We can certainly see. Oh, the stickers are good quality. Great. Excuse me, I was worried about that because someone else had asked because he was wanting to know were they very durable, and I'm like, I don't know. They're stickers. I don't know. Yeah, and it's a hazard. Either the sticker comes off in 5 minutes or it's there for 5 years. You really can't tell with the sticker uh, how they're gonna hold. I need to figure out how to set that up. I need to figure out how to set up. If you're interested, in my YouTube bio is the merch links. I need to figure out how to set it up for Twitch. I have no clue how to set stuff up for Twitch. So shameless plug for help. I need to set that up because people have asked. Yeah, it can be. I would think that, especially since it's outside, it's going to be hot. It's going to get dinged around. So let me know how that holds up. If it's a good quality sticker, then yay. But my steak is getting cold, so this is a good place to wrap it up because my food. I'm ready for my food. Thanks everybody for coming and sticking it out, and, and um, super easy recipe. Next time we'll see what we come up with. I will drop stuff on my Discord. Maybe we can have some discussions about what looks good, what sounds good. Like I said, I do plan for. Um, yes, you can drop the link in here, please. Thank you, Paolo. Something for when Dune drops. We'll do a Dune cooking thing, and I'm open to suggestions. Yay! Streamlabs, yes. Okay, and there it is. Super, super helpful. And I will catch everybody after I eat because I'm hungry. I can smell that. I'm surprised you can't hear my stomach rumbling. But thanks, everybody, and we'll catch everybody next time. Thank you guys so much for coming. And see you guys soon, right? Bye bye.